We're out in the forest again. It's like the one thing that you can still do in these crazy times. Spam turned 7 months old yesterday, and from now I think that maybe our videos will be more theme-based than they've been before. So the theme for this week is about teaching her tunnels. We haven't worked on tunnels at all before, and when I held a lecture last week online, which was so much fun, I decided to use teaching the tunnel as a model for how I teach things and use shaping, offered behaviors, and how I add cues for stimulus control. So on Thursday we started working on tunnel for the first time, started by shaping it and then getting her to offer it back and forth, adding the cue, adding difficulty, and then I've just kept working on it for a week. And I've got so much video that I'll just show it to you and talk over it, because otherwise this video would go on for too long. This was our very first session. She's never trained the tunnel before, and I was really quick to reward any interaction with the tunnel. Using the short tunnel is really an advantage here. It means that I can stay in one place and still reward her. And it also means that we can get a lot of repetitions in a short amount of time, and that I don't have to use luring to get her through it. I could quickly progress because she's so used to this model of shaping, but I did add distance to the tunnel too quickly, so she went into circling the tunnel like she does with the cone. So I had to go back really close to the tunnel, which I really think you should. Start so close that the puppy can be correct as much as possible, and then add distance once you get fluency. I try to add distance to the tunnel, my distance that is, in very, very small steps. So anytime she goes for a treat, I can move slightly away from the tunnel without her noticing. And my goal is really for me to be able to add distance without her noticing. She's just doing the same thing over and over, and I take small, tiny steps away from the tunnel so that she can still be successful while I get out of the picture. This was our second session, and I had moved the tunnel a little bit and also switched sides. So I went right back close to the tunnel and made it really easy for her to get into the behavior before I added distance again. I tried to place the treat in different positions so that she can find her way into the tunnel from different angles. I mostly use treats in the beginning of this training because I want her to think, and I also want to be able to place the treat away from me so that she's not always starting from my side, but rather finding her way into the tunnel from different positions. But since she's not that keen on treats, I need to give her play breaks often to make sure that she wants to stay in the game and be energetic and have fun. So a few treats and then we have a play break. She sometimes went the wrong way into the tunnel. I would like her to go back and forth from the side where she picks up the treat, but sometimes she decided to come around and take it from the back side. And that will be a different cue later on, so I don't want to encourage that, but I did reward it in this first session. In this third session, I started to challenge her a little bit more, and I probably wouldn't have done it as much if it wasn't for the lecture that I was having this evening. I wanted to show how you can progress, so I started with some reward challenges where I show her an open hand with treats and let her figure it out. Preferably, you'd like to add those distractions in a way that the puppy doesn't really realize that they're there, that she's just repeating the behavior without sniffing the hand or looking at it, but she did figure it out quite quickly, and sometimes I think it can be a good thing for them to actually have to think about it. So it wasn't a big deal, but if I had more time, I'd probably been more careful about it. I also sat down and did some different things just to mix it up and make sure that she could perform the behavior even with me in different positions. And she did good with that, but it did make a difference to her. This is something that I want to do before I add a cue, to make sure that she's not dependent on my position. In our next session, I started adding the cue. This is also something that I might have waited longer with if it wasn't for the lecture. But she was repeating the behavior nicely, and I went back close to the tunnel to make sure that she was successful. And I started saying her tunnel cue just as she was finished eating her food before she starts going to the tunnel again. I started adding some challenges fairly quickly. I tried asking her to sit, which is a behavior she knows very well, and she did it, but then she wasn't as good at listening to her tunnel cue, so that was probably a little bit early. A better way to do it was to just feed her for waiting in a stand by my side, and then giving her the tunnel cue so that she starts on the cue. It also worked better asking her to sit and then rewarding that with her tunnel cue instead of giving her food for sitting down. I also started adding some more play to our sessions to make sure that she was finding it exciting and wanting to listen to my cue. She isn't crazy about food, so using toys is a good way to get her more engaged. I still use a lot of food to make sure that she's thinking and to build value for food, because I really want to have that as a tool in our toolbox. Yes! Wow! With our tunnel training, I've tried to add some other behaviors in quite early. I try to help her out so that she's successful, but sometimes we'll work on circling a cone, for example, when the tunnel is out there, so that she doesn't just go into the tunnel because she sees a tunnel. I can also ask her for other behaviors that she knows, like turning left and right. She had some trouble getting into the tunnel from the back side like this and wanted to go in behind my back. So to help her out and to get some distance, I added a barrier. And she's not afraid of it at all, and she's used to it from everyday life. So I decided to use it to help her be successful. And it really worked, and she was doing really good with it. Barriers can be a way to make sure that you can reward the correct behavior without having to lower your criteria for your position. It's very easy to get stuck in one position because the dog is not successful once you add distance or difficulty. So using a barrier can get you a high rate of reinforcement and at the same time build understanding for the behavior. This is something that I do quite a lot. I place a toy out and then ask her to do something which requires her to go away from the toy. When I had the barrier out, I thought I would try her first rear crosses. Someone was asking me about that, so I thought, why not? Let's try it. Rear crossing is when I cross her line when she goes into the tunnel, where she has to complete the behavior and go through the tunnel and then turn the other way out so that she can chase me again. We weren't always successful. I should probably have helped her more with a placed out toy, but she did catch on quite quickly and we had some really nice repetitions. This is the next day, working on moving away from the toy and also having me look like I'm running the other direction, which was too hard for her here, but she got it in the next repetition. I want to encourage her to chase me out of the tunnel, and I work much more on turns out of the tunnel than going straight. My floor is a bit too slippery for this, so we're excited to move outdoors now that spring is here. I also worked on following a piece of food and then listening to my tunnel cue while she's following the food. I also decided to work on her target behavior when the tunnel is close by. The target will be used for her running contacts, so it made sense to me to work on that. It's the behavior she really likes, and also something that she will be doing close to tunnel entries. I started on the same side that she was on, and then progressed to going closer to the tunnel and then on the other side of the tunnel. I tried to do it gradually so that she was successful.
Target!
I really love having the short tunnels so that we can do discrimination exercises like this and just work on very simple but very useful things around tunnels, even in the house. I also like to do it before she's tunnel crazy. The short tunnel doesn't really encourage that kind of craziness, so we can work through understanding before adding all the speed and excitement of tunnels later on. The only thing that I don't love about my indoor training room is that it's sometimes slippery when we add speed, and the target was also a little bit slippery, so I should have taped it to the ground so that it didn't move under her feet. Make sure that you're always working on a good surface, especially when you add any kind of speed. So that's it for this week. Let's see what next week's theme will be. I'm not really sure, but we did some fun things yesterday that I want to include. So take care, stay safe, and wash your hands.